Hello and welcome to this video, Ansible Playbooks Variables. We're going to go through examples showing the various ways in which variables can be used with Ansible. This video is designed as a reference for using variables within your own projects. In this lecture, we have a convenient shell script which will step through each example, showing the directory and the result of the execution. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm in the variable section here and we're going to run the shell script show examples.sh. Okay, so in the first revision we've got a simple key value and we can see that within our debug we're going to show the example underscore key. We press return here and you can see Ansible running. And there we have the example value. Press return to go into the next revision. And here we have an example of a dictionary that we've named dict. And inside this we have another dictionary with the dictionary key and the dictionary value. In the first task we're actually showing this where we're outputting the dictionary. In the second one we're outputting the dictionary key. And in the third one, we're also outputting the dictionary key, but this time we're using the Python bracket notation. Press return here. And you can see there in the first one, we have our full dictionary. And in the second and third, we have the same dictionary value, albeit with different ways of accessing the same value. In this one, we're showing the inline dictionary notation. And again, we're showing that this can be accessed using the dot notation and the brackets notation. And there we have our output. Next up, we have a list called named underscore list. And in the first task, we're showing the entire list. The next one, we're actually accessing the first item using the dot notation, and in the last one, we're accessing the first item using the brackets notation. And there we can see our list and item 1 for both approaches. We can also do this using the inline list notation as well. And again, we're accessing the same information, but just using a different input method for each approach. Here we're showing the contents of an external variables file called externalvars.yaml. If we press return here, you can actually see for the variables we specify in vars underscore files, and then within the tasks, we're essentially repeating all of the previous ones we've actually shown there, but this time we're actually doing it with reference to the information that is in the external file. Press space there and you can page through all of the examples. And when you're ready, you can press return. If you scroll back up there slowly, you can actually see all of the output here, the examples that we've previously covered, this time as external variables from a file. Next up, we're using the vars underscore prompt to actually prompt the user for a variable. And if we press return here, it's going to ask for a username. So here I'm just going to enter James. And you can see there in our output, we have James as the value. This is the equivalent, but this one is for password, and we've toggled the private flag. So on the previous one, the private flag was false. This time it's true. And if we enter a password here, I'll just enter the password. You don't see it being entered in, but when I press return, you can see the value there. If you recall, for our host CentOS1, we set a specific value for Ansible underscore port of 2222. Here, we're actually showing that this value is accessible from the special host vars section. We're passing in Ansible underscore hostname, which will relate to the host in question, in this case CentOS1, and then we're accessing Ansible underscore port. First time we're doing it with the dot notation, second time we're doing it with the dictionary notation. Just to show how versatile Ansible is with variables. If we press return here, and there we have our port, 2222. Here we've changed the host so it's the entire CentOS group. Now, if you recall, we only have Ansible underscore port set for our first host, CentOS1. The others do not have this value. If we try to run this, you can see it succeeds for CentOS1, but we actually have failures for CentOS2 and 3, as the variables don't exist. In the next example, revision 11, what we're actually doing here is using a Ginger 2 filter, and we'll be talking more about Ginger 2 in the dedicated section. But we have a Ginger filter where we're actually setting a default value of 22. Therefore, if the value isn't set, it's going to set this to 22 by default. Let's give this a try. And you can see that this looks a lot cleaner than the previous attempt. We have 2222 for CentOS1 and 22 for both CentOS2 and CentOS3. For our CentOS group, we implicitly set the Ansible underscore user as root. Let's access this variable for all of our CentOS hosts. And there we have it, the root value. If you recall, for our Ubuntu hosts, we're actually using the sudo method. So, we don't have an Ansible underscore user. And if we run this, we should see an error. Back to our CentOS1 host. If you recall, we set Ansible underscore user as a group var. Even though this is set as a group var, Ansible automatically assigns group vars so they are accessible under the host vars section for the host in question. So here we're accessing host vars and the Ansible underscore hostname will be CentOS1. Then we're accessing the value Ansible underscore user. And there you go. Even though this is a group var, it's accessible from the host vars section in the related host. In this one, we're accessing the Ansible underscore port using the dot notation. We've seen that we can pass in extra variables in some of our examples, and what we're showing here is that Ansible is very versatile in the way in which you can pass these in. You can pass in extra variables using the ini format. You can pass in using the JSON format. and you can also pass in variables using the YAML format. It's also possible to pass in an entire file of variables in different formats. Here, we're passing it in as a YAML file. That was revision 17, and if we look once again in the same revision, we can also pass this in as a JSON file. And you can go into this directory and have a look at the structure of the file if you like. That's it for this video. Please join me in the next one where we'll be taking a look at Ansible Playbooks Facts.